The devil's work is never done. Hey guys, Caleb here from CDBS Studios, and this last week we finally got the last episode for Daredevil Born Again. So here is my full in-depth review of the season as a whole. Warning, there will be spoilers for the entire show and for the entirety of the original Daredevil run, so if you haven't seen that, just know there will be some spoilers in this video. So let's move into our video. We're going to start by talking about the overall story of the season. We're not going to be going specifically into each episode, and if you want to see my thoughts on each episode, you can check out my shorts that I was doing around the time of each episode's release. Looking at the overall episodes, this is very difficult to talk about as the episodes are very clearly, because of this sense of how Daredevil Born Again was made, they had one creative team make most of the episodes, and then a new creative team took over and overhauled the show. And you can feel that. I'm gonna say straight up, episodes 1, 8, and 9 were by far significantly better than the rest of the series. And it's really weird because it's like sandwiched. It's like, because obviously those 3 episodes were made post-overhaul, so that episode ended up having the original characters back in it and had a lot of the same style as the original Daredevil show. So it's very interesting as they kind of split up, in a sense, that episodes around that, which just is kind of awkward because of the fact that it's weird for me to say that I liked the overhauled show better than the original show. And it's not to say that I didn't dislike that middle section of the season. I think there's a lot of really great stuff involving the White Tiger trial. I think that's a lot of fun. I think the bank heist episode where Matt teams up with Yusuf Khan to take over a bank heist, I think that is a really fun episode. There's a lot to enjoy about the middle section of the season, but it's not. But I can't say that the episodes 1, 8, and 9 are significantly better than the rest of the season. And that also comes into the fact that this season's story feels a little conjunctured over the course of the season, because this wants to be a story about Kingpin becoming mayor and kind of becoming this corrupt dictator of New York, mixed with a Muse plotline that doesn't really go anywhere and is kind of wasted in the show, mixed with some other plot lines here and there, like the Matt learning to be Daredevil again is interesting, but then it's paired with other side plots that are not interesting, which I think hurts the season overall because it has aspects of it that I really, really enjoy, but then also aspects of it that I'm not super fond of. So, really quickly, I'm also going to go quickly into the characters of the show, and I'm going to say this show handled its main cast really, really well. Matt Murdock is one of my favorite characters, especially after I recently got exposed to the Daredevil show for the first time. Matt Murdock has quickly become one of my favorite MCU heroes, and this show perfectly captured Charlie Cox, put him back into the role of Matt Murdock, and helped him do amazing. And then you also have Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin. Such a good villain, and this season was just the same Kingpin we've always loved from the other shows, so it's so happy to have him around again. And they are handled really, really well throughout the season. The side characters, unfortunately, don't fare very well, which is a real shame because one of the original draws that I had to the original Daredevil show is that the side characters were almost equally as important as the main cast, as there were sometimes even full episodes or arcs dedicated to these characters. There's full episodes for Foggy, Karen, Ben Urich, Elektra, Punisher, and all those characters were basically almost as important as the main cast was, which was really important to the overall show. This season, Daredevil Born Again didn't really handle its side characters very well, as you have, like I said, Matt and Kingpin are handled very well, but characters like Heather, McDuffie, even in a sense Karen, Punisher, are really not handled super well in the show. And I mean, it's also Karen and Punisher kind of don't get a good rap because of the fact that they're not in most of the season, but like we had Heather, which I never really felt belonged in the season, weirdly enough. We had McDuffie, who kind of just feels like we're having a stand-in for Karen / Foggy for some reason. And there's a lot of other problems with the side characters where they really just feel like window dressing, where in the original Daredevil show, all of the side characters were there because they fitted the purpose of the season, but then you had this show where it feels like the side characters are there to fill up scenes rather than be important to the story. And then that also brings us into the villains of the season, where, like I mentioned, Kingpin is amazing. I've always loved the character of Kingpin, even before I watched the original Daredevil show. And watching the original Daredevil just made me love the character even more. And he's equally as great in Daredevil Born Again. There's the Vigilante Task Force that has a lot of really fun ideas placed behind them. I think it plays a little into the fact that they also don't get a ton of time to shine because they're more of an episode 8 and 9 kind of thing, and it means that they're not in the season a ton. Same goes for Bullseye. And then you have Muse, who was just so wasted. I remember in the hype for Daredevil Born Again, when Muse was revealed as the main villain, or revealed as the main villain, I should say with air quotes, is I read the Daredevil comics where Muse was the main villain, and he is equally one of the most interesting, violent supervillains that we've ever seen in superhero media. And I was really looking forward to seeing how the show was going to tackle that. Unfortunately, Muse only gets like 2 episodes to really shine because he's like a background character up until Matt finds him, and then he's like a 2-episode villain. And even then, he's not even much of a villain. So Muse is just so wasted. Although they have confirmed he is coming back for season 2, so I don't know if they're going to be able to redeem the character or somehow they have something else they're thinking of. So maybe they'll be able to do that. But as it stands right now, kind of to lay out all the villains, you have Kingpin, who is an easy S tier. You have the Task Force and Bullseye, which are great in a vacuum, but they just don't get a ton of time to shine. And Muse is a wasted potential villain. I want to really quickly move into the overall design of the show. And one thing that I really didn't like about the show was how they took us out of Hell's Kitchen and made the setting more just like general New York. And that sucked because in the original Daredevil show, Hell's Kitchen could be equally described as a main character, as Hell's Kitchen constantly changed and it had all these aspects to it that made it almost feel like Hell's Kitchen was the main character of the show, more or less than Daredevil and Kingpin, which was so fun. And when you broaden that scope to just New York City in general, you never really feel that same thing. And obviously there's some cool set designs here and there, but honestly, half the time of the show, I was just saying, why don't we just go back to Hell's Kitchen? Because episode 1 of the season, where we are in Hell's Kitchen, still has that style where, yes, Hell's Kitchen is a main character. So that's just kind of unfortunate for the overall look of the season. When you look at the overall style of Daredevil, I think that this show shot itself in the foot from the very start. As I think when the creative team was given the challenge of reviving the show of Daredevil, they misunderstood why we loved Daredevil in the first place. As they thought, okay, we're just going to fan cast Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox into a new Daredevil show that's completely separate from the original. We're going to remove all of the side characters. And we're going to do our own thing. And that's just not why we like Daredevil. Like, sure, Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio are the standouts of Daredevil, but equally so, the style of that show, the fight sequences of that show, the side characters, they all came together to form one of the best superhero shows that's ever existed. And it really does feel like Marvel Studios misunderstood why Daredevil succeeded and kind of were trying to imitate the show less than inspire it to be its own thing. And thankfully, they did manage to change it slightly, and I think the creative overhaul was a good thing because, like I said, episodes 1, 8, and 9 are significantly better than the rest of the show. And it does leave some new creative moments because the new creative team is going to be tackling season 2, so assuming that they keep up what they were doing for episodes 1, 8, and 9, season 2 could be even better than this show. Heck, it could even be better or on par with the original Daredevil show if they do season 2 correctly. But as it stands, this show was a blast. I loved seeing a new era of Daredevil. And as it stands right now, Marvel is on a pretty good streak with its projects when it comes to 2025. So hopefully Marvel can keep it up because there's a chance 2025 definitely is already much better than a bunch of the previous years of the MCU. So I'll call that a win in my books. So, thank you guys all very much for watching. If you want to tell your thoughts on Daredevil Born Again, put them in the comment section and we can start a conversation. But without further ado, thank you guys all very much for watching, and I hope to see you guys all in the next part. Bye, guys!